Amapiano fan? Do you like Amapiano?
Some of it I do.
Welcome, guys. We are back, and I am with Storm. Oh, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Wish we had one of those, but
I know, right?
But I am with Storm. Storm, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So, hey guys, my name's Storm. I am 25 years old. I'm a full-time spoken word poet, and I absolutely love what I do. I'm married. Yeah, I think those are the key things. Yeah.
Yeah, and you love Jesus.
I do love Jesus. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. That should have been first. I'm sorry, Lord.
25, that means you are officially at the later half of your 20s.
I know.
My goodness. How's that feel?
I was thinking about that the other day, and it feels quite sad,
Yeah?
Because as a creative anyway, there's a point where you kind of have access to all this funding. There's almost like, we're here to champion you and support you. And then after 25, it's like, we don't care about you anymore. There's like other people.
It's too late.
Yeah, get a real job. Do you know what I mean?
But having said that, though, as a creative and as a spoken word artist, as a poet, I've had the privilege to listen to some amazing pieces that you've done. I mean, what is this year looking for? Obviously, it's the beginning of the year. People want to make resolutions. People want to make goals. Have you got something in mind in regards to that? And, maybe you can even talk about how your last year's been, because, listen, guys, this one here is a celebrity, yeah?
I'm not.
Trying to get her to come through. Oh, sorry, I can't make it. I'm in America. She's in America like, what, twice a week?
Yeah, something else.
But yeah, man, what's 2024? I need to get used to that. What's 2024 looking like for you?
I know, it feels so weird saying 2024, but I think last year was such a crazy year because I was doing stuff at the House of Lords. I was at the Londoner. I was in the US, lots of cool kind of projection mapping, working with ITV. There was like a New Year's. There was like a New Year's script that I wasn't actually in, but I wrote the script. And so Pearl Mackie did essentially the performance for it, and she did a great job. So lots of cool stuff last year. This year, I'm looking to essentially try and create some more content. I think you do a really great job of this. I'm not very good at it. I'm very good like in person, but when it comes to like being in person online, it's not me. So
it's tough.
It's tough. So I think I need to do more, make a better effort to kind of connect with the people that are trying to connect with me.
Right.
And a few more cool things. I'm doing Passion Conference.
What's that about? What's the Passion Conference about?
Passion Conference is a really cool conference. There's 65,000 young people there. It's in a stadium, so it's really, really cool. And essentially, I'm just doing a poem.
Where's this?
For that.
It's your favorite place, right? So
It's
what? Where is it? Just tell us.
It's in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
I know, in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Atlanta, I don't think it ever gets cold. So
does it not?
I mean, you let us know, I guess. But my sister used to live in Atlanta, and she said that even in the winter, winter months, that week or winter, January, you could still wear like a light jumper, and you'll be okay. You wouldn't have to wear a coat. But let us know.
Fair enough. Anyway. I will let you know.
Yeah, man. But what would you say like are your biggest challenges apart from what you've already said in regards to, having that in-person type vibe with, making content and trying to connect with people that want to connect with you? What other challenges would you say you faced or you're facing as a creative? Because I know everyone has different challenges. I think there's certain things that creatives can relate to in terms of challenges, but there's also other things that are specific to you. Is there anything that you could probably add in regards to that? Because I'm sure there's going to be a few people watching as well. For me, even, we've had conversations, outside of the camera, like there's a lot of things that, you've spoken about, and I'm like, I can relate to that as well. And it's relatable because you've really experienced it. It's not generic type things.
Of course,
You know what I'm saying? So,
do you know what? I think there are so many things. I think one thing I'm really good at, and I've said this to you so many times, is I'm really good at connecting with people in the room. and bringing people together and providing suggestions and ideas to brands and organizations. I'm really good at keeping my clients in the sense of I have a good relationship with them, they have a good relationship with me, and I love working with them. And so we just keep working together, and that works really well. But I'm not very good at that, creating that same environment online. I don't know. I just don't find it enjoyable. Sometimes it's quite difficult, but I want to do it because I want to connect with people. I like being on my story. I like making people laugh. People love it. I love having my husband on there. I love telling a few jokes here and there, but it's just time consuming.
It is, yeah.
And
time is a massive factor, especially as we're getting older as well.
Exactly.
So
it's true. I think the other thing you mentioned is the balance between family life, and being a creative. Because I don't know if this is what you feel, but for me personally, my mind as a creative is going at 100 miles per hour all the time. It has new ideas, new thoughts, new suggestions. But then there's also family life involved. Both of my parents are unwell. My dad has cancer. He's terminally ill. And for me, that is a real challenge, not just kind of on a day-to-day, but emotionally as well. That plays a toll.
Gosh, yeah.
And so it's finding that balance between how do I put this in my art in, I suppose, in a healthy way, because I don't want to push my trauma onto people, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I want to make an impact with what I'm sharing and what I'm doing. So I'd say those are the two things I'm currently trying to navigate at the moment.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep, man. I think, dealing with, trying to get that balance at home life, and especially as you're saying with, maybe if a parent is unwell, it's quite hard, to balance that and keep focused on what you want to do as well and still be present. So ratings to you as well for that and for what you've achieved while still, dealing with those things outside of your work and your content. So there's one thing I did want to ask you, and I would love some insight on that, really, is in regards to your boundaries. This is not to do with home life or whatnot, but...
Do you mean creatively?
Creatively, because, this was... I think we briefly spoke about this. You remember when we were referring to a Big Church Day Out? Where you were performing as well. Shout out. But as a Christian, someone that is actually following Jesus, representing Jesus, like, how does that look like in an industry where they don't rate Jesus and Christianity like that? Because I'm sure you must have had like gigs or maybe opportunities. I'm not sure if you're even okay to speak about those things. But like I'm sure you've had opportunities where you've maybe had to like turn down and be like, oh, maybe I can't do this. And there's money have to make, innit? Do you know what I mean? You got to make some money, bro. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, how do you make, like, what's your process behind that?
Do you know what? It's crazy because I feel like for me, I have to do everything based on integrity.
Right.
If I don't feel that this is something that I can stick my name on in 10 years time, I can't do it.
Right.
And I think you have to make those decisions early on. I probably can't go into too many details as to the one I'm talking about, but there's been opportunities where like could pay off houses, deposits, all sorts of madness.
Off one gig.
Sorry?
Off one gig, like.
Off of campaigns. Usually it's the campaign. And yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And if you're not grounded in your belief in what God is saying, and you're not able to be a mouthpiece, because I believe that being a poet is very prophetic. It's a mouthpiece. You are sending something, you are speaking something as if it was, right, or as though it was, or as though it currently is. And you're encouraging people to try and see that too. And I think if you're not willing to kind of turn some things down, what ends up happening is you taint your brand in the long run. So I'm very thankful for the things that things that I've turned down. Sorry, I'm just thinking about all the things that I've turned down. But even, I was just going to say, like, even some of the things, like, sometimes you do even events or you're performing somewhere and the way that people may act or the way that people may approach you may not be what you are used to, or it may not just be within your culture. Like, I remember I was doing an event, I think this was actually a few months ago, actually, and people were saying, like, you know, can I sleep with you? I'm married.
That's crazy. And they probably know that. They know that you're... Oh, I mean, I assume.
My ring was on. Like, do you know what's worse? They were married.
Jeez.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so you have to be... You have to just make sure that whatever you are doing, that you're doing it with integrity, because I think some of the things, and maybe this is from the wrong place and maybe I need to work on it, but part of the reason that I get so nervous about those things is I'm like, in like 5 years' time, is there going to be a scandal? Like, you hear all these scandals coming out and all sorts of craziness. I don't want to be, I want to live a quiet life, as scripture says. You know, it talks about living a quiet life. That's what I want to do. But part of me can't do that because of my role. I'm at the front.
Right.
So, yeah.
Gosh, man. I'm sure that would come as a shock to a lot of people. You know, we forget sometimes you get... Well, for me anyway, I can only speak on my... You know, you get surrounded by a bubble. I think a lot of people live in this bubble or upbringing of Christianity and you think, that could never happen or whatever. But things are so crazy out there. You know, these things are happening and you then experience it and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, so... Yeah, man, I think integrity is a massive thing. But like, I've listened to your stuff. I've watched your stuff. And I just could never do what you'd like. It's a gift that God has given you, right?
Absolutely.
And how did you even realize that you had that?
That I could do poetry.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Funny enough, when I was I think I might have been anywhere between like 6 and 8. And
quite young then.
Yeah, and in my area at the time, there was something called the Newham Mag. And the Newham Mag used to go to pretty much every house in Newham in the borough. Right. And they used to do this competition. And I entered the competition. It was like I'm not sure if it was a poetry competition, but they had like drawings, and the best drawing would get like a little sticker or a star next to it or something. Right. And so one of my poems actually like had the star next to it because it was like considered like the best one. Right. And it ended up in like the Newham, in all the Newham houses. And I remember some of my friends like, "Oh, are you in the Newham Mag?" Da, 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 da. My mum was so happy about it as well. Yes. And so it was a real moment for me. That was my first poem called School Break, and my dad actually wrote that with me whilst I was sitting in the living room.
Oh, amazing.
And he was like,
what a memory.
I know, especially like now considering how important memories are. Right. And he just sat with me, wrote the poem, and entered, and it won. And then I progressed on. When I was 14, my brother had a car accident, and I
didn't know that.
Oh, did you not?
No.
Oh, well, it's the first for everything.
Jeez, yeah, gosh.
Yeah, he had a pretty bad car accident. Yeah, this was serious. He, it was on a residential road, on our residential road. The car was going, I think it was around 40 miles an hour. Right. He was hit by the car, landed on his feet. Well, he actually hit the windscreen of another car, slammed into the tree next to it, and then landed on his feet and shattered his body. Ooh. I know, it was really bad. And that's when I became a Christian, because at the time I didn't really believe in God, didn't really have a faith. I was quite skeptical as a child. And my godfather used to drop me to school, and he used to say prayer changes things. He's from Montserrat, so don't prayer changes things, And I'm like, okay, whatever. Not saying that to him, but thinking it. Yeah, but he said, when you're in a crisis, you're going to want to pray. And I was like, yeah, I don't really believe in what you're saying, but that's all good. And then that happened, and I got on my knees, and I was like, God, I need you to intervene, because it was a serious accident.
Right.
So serious that the case actually only ended probably a month ago now.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was when I was 14. So it's been, what, 11
Wow,
years?
11 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask, why did it take that long?
Because when you have an accident that is that serious, you have to wait a number of years to see how the person will turn out.
Right.
So what kind of
okay.
brain damage they're going to have, what kind of support they need. So it's unfortunate because it means that everybody's kind of in this awkward limbo waiting for it to end. And then also like for my brother, that I presume that's quite frustrating.
Yeah,
For
I
me,
can imagine.
yeah, I had to give like reports every year, like how am I doing, things like that. Can you recount the accident again? Like, so it's a mentally exhausting process, but it's just
Having to
part of it.
relive through that trauma as well.
Yeah. And I think for me what was hard is that when I was 14, it was mainly about recovery. So for my brother it was about, okay, can you walk again? Can you do those basic things again? But then when I got to university, then it kind of shot up again and it was like, okay, can you give me another report? Can you give me this? So it was quite hard. Anyway, but this question was about how I became a poet.
Yeah. I don't even know.
You look shocked. You look traumatized.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't even... What were we even speaking about before?
We were talking about how I became, like, how did I know I had this gift?
Yes.
So I was telling the story of how I got to where I am now, I suppose.
So the accident happened.
Yes.
And that was a time where you wrote something else, I'm assuming?
Well, that's where I became a Christian. And that is also when I was suicidal. So as you know, my piece, End of You, that's kind of the story that came out of. So it's quite suicidal, quite low.
Right.
And but poetry helped me to perceive and understand the world better because I wasn't very good at navigating my emotions, especially with everything that was going on.
Right.
And I kind of just continued from there, joined a collective, did a nationwide building society poem at I think 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And just continued from there.
And it just, wow.
Just kind of took off, entered competitions.
So what would you say to maybe creatives out there that may be listening or watching this in terms of, you know that you've got a gift, know you've got, God has given you something to show and present to the world and impact people. What would you say, or what advice could you like give to someone in regards to growing in their gift and whatnot? Because I know your work rate is crazy. So like, would you say that has contributed to where you are now and what you're doing, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would say if you're looking to, I think the key thing is you need to cultivate your gift. So when I was at university, I studied business and psychology with French, but I really, really wanted to do poetry full time. And so I would wake up at 5 a.m. every morning for 2 hours and I would study Shakespearean sonnets. I would understand what a sestet is. I would understand what an octave is. I'd understand caesura. I would go through...
all those things you just named, I have no clue what they are. Carry on.
Well, a Shakespearean sonnet has an octave, which is the first 8 lines, and a sestet, which is the last 6 lines.
6.
So that's 14 lines in total.
Right.
In the middle, you usually have a volta or a turn in thought. So maybe you thought something in the first half, it changes in the second half, and then you'd have like some sort of rhyming couplet at the end. So I'd basically go through kind of the technicalities of what makes a poem and look at the history and just write terrible work like for like 3 years every morning. And then one day it became somewhat decent and that's how I won competitions and started to get a bit known, and this is where we are today.
Wow. Gosh. Journey though, dedication though, man. 5 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think I can even wake up at 5 a.m. now. I find it so hard. I don't know what was going in me at, like 17, 18, 19, but something just got me out of bed. I suppose it was a desire. I wanted it so badly that I was willing to do anything to kind of get there.
Right.
Also, I have to give some props to church because every Monday I'd get up at 5 a.m. We would get up and we'd go and pray around the block. in the
Right.
university. So I knew that I was getting up for that. So I'd
Right.
get up earlier, and then it would kind of be like, okay, I know I'm getting up now, so I might as well just be intentional and just learn.
Gosh, that's good, man. That's a
Yeah.
story and a half, man.
Thank you.
Jeez. So, how would you say now? Obviously, in the mid-20s and all that, you're married.
Yeah.
Like, have you found that your husband has supported you in that aspect, or would you say that you're similar in some regards? Like what? Or is it like opposites attract kind of thing?
I think it's opposites attract. I think it's opposites attract in some ways.
Right.
So my husband,
Shout out, Morgs.
yeah, shout out. My husband likes to be around me all the time. We were talking about this earlier. He loves to be around me. Like he's in love. Do you know what I mean? Like deeply, deeply in love.
She's saying it like it's a burden. It's like, it's so annoying. He loves me too much. Right.
And like I love him too. Do you know what I mean? But I love differently.
Right.
So I could happily live on a desert island like by myself,
Right.
and he could not. I think actually before he died of hunger, like he would die of like me just not being there.
Right.
So
That's so cute, man.
it's kind of cute, but it's also like just eat. Do you know what I mean?
Some people are like, how do I find myself a Morgan? Yeah.
Go
man.
to conferences, but yeah.
Yeah, man.
So what was even the question?
Oh, how does it work
how
out
does
in
the
the
balance
night? Yeah,
work?
the balance in that. The balance.
Yeah.
See, I got. Sorry, go on.
The balance is it works well in the sense of like we said, and we were talking earlier, and it was about how people that I like to be alone, he likes to be with me. We just somehow find ourselves together.
Yeah.
I think we've got a good synergy in the sense that we work really well together creatively, and we think quite similarly creatively as well. We're both very passionate about what we do, and we're both very good at what we do.
Right.
I think also we genuinely just like to spend time with each other. So from a like creative point of view, that works really well. But I do think we are different in some ways. I could just live by myself.
Right.
Morgan would, die of my absence if it was for too long. So yeah, I think we complement each other well.
That's good, man. That's good. And I think he's understanding of like what you do, and I guess having someone who is has the same beliefs as well
100%.
must be speaking with downstairs with my wife, and it really does help.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is, me and Morgan work together in the sense that he does a lot of my kind of admin and the management side of what I do. So without him, I can't lie, I do not like admin.
Right.
So without him, it just doesn't work. So I have to give him his props because he makes my career, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
yes, I do go on the stage, but he does all of the behind the scenes. And without that, it would just not be possible.
Right.
Because my response rate is terrible, and I probably wouldn't have, people or clients,
Right.
without him. So props to Morgan.
Jeez, ratings too, man. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up because we don't want to go for too long. We've been speaking for ages, so trying to get it as in downstairs, not on this, not on this episode. But trying to get all of that and trying to fit it in. But what is one thing that you would say that you are like looking forward to in regards to 2024? If it was to wrap it up, what would you say? Like, what is the thing that you've been praying about that's been on your heart? What is the thing that you would like to really focus on? Is it what you mentioned before in regards to being more, present on social media, or is there something else, or a few things? What would you say?
I think I'm looking forward to probably two things. Obviously, aside from the general kind of movement of the year, which is kind of performances and writing and letting God's name be known through just my actions or what I say and communicate. But I'm also looking forward to resting more. I think that I've kind of been, burning the wick at both ends, and I need to explore what that means more. I think I'm not doing a great job of navigating the space of rest. But I'm also looking forward to connecting more with the people that I have created a following with and a connection with online. As much as I don't like the kind of work that it takes to do it, I do love technology, and I do love being online, and I like community. I feel like that's kind of contradictory considering I said I'm happy being on an island, but it's the balance, you know what I mean? It's the confluence between the two. So how can I enjoy rest and be with people? How can I do this online thing but it not feel like a burden? So
Yeah.
that's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, social media is like, it's a love-hate, I think, relationship that I have as well, to be honest. Social media as well, in it can be a dangerous tool. Like a lot of people use it for bad, and you know, there's a lot we can talk about in terms of social media, but I think it's also our responsibility as creatives. If God has given us that heart and that skill set to be able to create content that we are able to, well, that people can resonate with.
Right.
You know, I think it is also our responsibility to use these tools for good and to help people and to impact people. So yeah, it's important to have that balance, as you say, have that community. But again, it is also important to have that rest as well. And yeah, just focus on yourself as well, because sometimes we can feel really obliged to always be there on socials and be present and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of responsibility that we have in regards to just how to navigate that space. And as you said, you know, making sure God's name is glorified through all of that.
Absolutely.
So I guess we'll just round it up from there. But it was really, really good to have you, and I'm hoping, you know, we can have you back at some point.
Yeah, why
when
not?
we can catch you, if you're not too
But not in another
country,
yeah,
literally. But no, once again, thank you so much for coming down and just having this chat.
Thank you for having me.
Nice, guys. Until next time.